now that I've done the formalities for the day, everybody looks so glum and serious. A spiritual day doesn't have to be glum and serious. We can all have a smile and laugh about it. I'm sure God wasn't very serious himself. I'm sure he cracked a joke or two. I've heard a few. We will begin the day with the little ones. We welcome the little children of the Bala Sangha who do their practice here at the Vedanta Centre to come forward and do the invocation music and welcome for the day. The children of the Bala Sangha. Can we please have a round of applause for them?
I'm not sure how I'm meant to talk that, but hi, I'm Sampala. I'll be your MC for today's events. We thought we should have a fresh new face. I think the saying goes, out with the old and in with the new. We will now have a welcome address from the Vice President of the Vedanta Centre Brisbane, an Order of Australia Medal recipient, Dr.Ashim Majumdar. Please give him a warm welcome.
Namaskar, Swamijis, and good morning to all of you. Welcome for this wonderful program. We are celebrating the 125th years of establishment of our organization, the Ramakrishna Mission of India. It is my privilege to welcome all of you to this August association and assembly. In May 1st, 1897 marks an important event in the history of Indian Renaissance, the formation of the establishment of the organization that is known today as Ramakrishna Mission and Ramakrishna Mission. The seed planted by Swami Vivekananda that day has today blossomed into a global organization spreading over 25 countries and having 265 centers all over the world. And that is renowned for monastic and spiritual teaching organization and medical, educational and institutions and religion, and providing services to all the difficult times that we had during natural disasters, a complete service that provided by the ashram. The academic, and in addition, the academic excellence of the publication related to Hinduism, most widely used and cited English translation of the text, such as Upanishad, Brahma Sutra, Gita, or Gospel, and many other important jewels of Vedanta, as well as published by the Ramakrishna Mission Order. As we celebrate 125 years of exemplary contribution by the movement, let us analyze the fundamental or foundational principles that have been the cause of this success. The movement was founded in the name of Sri Ramakrishna, the 19th century spiritual guru of Swami Vivekananda, 11 years after his demise. Actually, Ramakrishna had expressed a desire to band together his 16 disciples that he had, who had left their homes for a monastic life, but was left to Swami Vivekananda to make this dream come to a reality. And this happened following his successful voyage to the West between 1893 and 1897. The role played by Sri Yalda, the spiritual consort of Sri Ramakrishna, is the pivotal in the first 2 decades of the organization, especially after Swami Vivekananda's demise in 1902, just 5 years after founding the movement. They had gone through a lot of turbulent times, financial hardships, and also at the time the British authorities were harboring or indicating that they were harboring terrorism. The unique features of the 3 spiritual gurus, Sri Ramakrishna, Yalda and Swami Vivekananda, provides the completeness of the Ramakrishna mission. Let me go back to the history a little bit again. When Swami Vivekananda was living at the residence of Mr. and Mrs. Leon in Chicago, he one day said to his host, Mrs. Leon, I have had the greatest temptations in my life in America. The elderly lady who liked to tease him, he said, who is she, Swami? Vivekananda burst into laughter and said, oh, it's not a lady, it is an organization. He then explained how the followers of Ramakrishna had all gone out alone, and they reached the village and just sit quietly under a tree and wait for those who have trouble come for counseling. But in the United States, we saw how much he could accomplish by organizing the work. When he returned to India, Swami Vivekananda called for a meeting, and on the 1st of May, 1897, established the Ramakrishna Mission Organization. He drafted a constitution which reflected the universality of teachings of Ramakrishna, his spiritual teacher. It may not be out of place to mention here that interestingly enough, when the UNESCO was formed in 1945, the Article 1 of the Constitution that had adopted echoes the Ramakrishna Mission's objectives. As a result, the UNESCO established an official cooperation relationship with the Ramakrishna Mission, and the Miss Irina Bukova, who is then the Director General of UNESCO, stated in a letter of information that the work and activities of the mission are consistent with the UNESCO's mandate and activities, particularly in the area of intercultural dialogue, social cohesion, and cultural peace and non-violence. The emblem of Ramakrishna Mission, so you can see outside. So outside speaks. I think hoping is not there. Speaks the harmony of different paths that people adopt to reach God. There is an interesting incident in the life of Swami Vivekananda. He was sitting at the breakfast table in New York one morning when the printer, or Mr. Henry Van Huygen, arrived. He said he was making a circular for the Vedanta Society of New York and wished to have an emblem to go onto it, and could Swami suggest something. Swamiji took an envelope from a letter he just had received. He tore it open, and on the cleaner side of the envelope, he drew the waves, the swan, the lotus, and the sun circulated by serpentine. He then gave the paper to his designer across the table and said, "Please draw it to the scale." Henry Van Huygen, the printer, was an able draftsman as well. He converted this rough sketch into a finished drawing which still exists. Thus, the Dutch gentleman gave the final shape to the emblem of Sri Ramakrishna Order according to his Guru's wish. Let me explain. In the language of Swami Vivekananda himself, the wavy waters in the picture are symbol of dharma, unattached action, devotion to God. The lotus of bhakti, devotion to God. And the rising sun of the jnana, the knowledge. The encircling serpent is indicative of yoga and awakening Kundalini Shakti. While the swan in the picture stands for the Paramatma, therefore the ideal of the picture is that by union of Dharma, Jnana, Bhakti and Yoga, the vision of the Paramatma is obtained. Karnahamsa Pachoda, may the Paramhamsa, the Supreme Self, the Swan, awaken our higher understanding. All the religions of the world follow either one or more of these paths. Sri Ramakrishna himself was a great religious scientist who experimented with the religions of truth, and came to the conclusion that all paths lead to the one goal, namely reaching the divine or becoming one with the divine. That is why today's topic is as many faiths, so many paths. We hope that all of the learned speakers here from different faiths will throw some light on the subject based on their own religious inclinations and experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ashim. Next, to start off today's events, we have a Buddhist themed dance, Danno Budunge. These dances describe the ancient citadel of Anuradhapura, the cradle of Buddhism in Sri Lanka, which made worthy, enlightened bhikkhus and was painted as heaven on earth. Dance choreography, Srimati Chitra Yogi Shrikanta. Please join me in giving them a round of applause. Next, we'll have a talk by Gail and David Paratz. Gail Paratz is very active in the Queensland Faith Communities Council. This council actively represents all faiths in Queensland and is very active in advancing interfaith understanding and collaboration. David, who is a good friend of the Vedanta Centre, does his best work standing by his wife. He is a member of QCAT, but still has time to promote his Jewish faith, as well as actively participate in interfaith activities. Please join me in welcoming Gail and David Paratz.
Good morning. We're very pleased to come again to the Vedanta Centre and to represent the Jewish community, but to talk with you all about matters that are common to us all. I'm going to give an introduction and then Gail will follow on with the substance of the presentation. Today's event has the title, As Many Faiths, So Many Paths. There are many paths, both within faiths and from faiths. There are many similarities between faiths. Faith promotes cohesive and cooperative societies where people act with consideration for each other and individuals strive to live a life that is meaningful, constructive and satisfying. The prevailing themes of faiths are the importance of the community, a basic set of moral principles, and acceptance of rules of community organisation, and a belief in an overall order and aspiration outlined by or manifested by a spiritual being or beings. Cultures and communities over thousands of years have developed different faiths, which have different beliefs and observances. These different paths and beliefs are the paths to a fulfilling, peaceful and cooperative world. Today we are hearing the path that several faiths have chosen. The origins of many faiths are common or have complementary beliefs. This can arise from common origins or by groups breaking off and forming new groups, or by the adoption of the teachings of a new or further prophet or book. One of those faiths is the Jewish religion, which is an ancient faith with basically simple beliefs in one deity and a set of basic laws given by that deity. Gail will speak today about the interior monologue within Judaism as to the individual chords that form the rope that is Judaism. As we learn more about each other and what we each believe, distrust disappears, and we each benefit in the appreciation of our own faith in the context of a world of many paths.
Good morning, everybody. Judaism, which is nearing 4,000 years in age, has never claimed it is the only path to God. Judaism acknowledges that there are very many paths to the divine. So I'm going to speak in the words of Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, who, if you know me, know that I really admire his teachings and the way he lived his life. And he sadly left us a couple of years ago, really at the young age of 72, I can say that now. Young. So the late Rabbi Jonathan Sacks was the chief rabbi of the United Kingdom and a very learned man. And I refer to him a lot when I need understanding, and he clarifies things for me. So the words you're going to hear are his words. I'm not as clear as he is, obviously. But I thought it was really appropriate what I found that he wrote. So the late rabbi devised a video course in 2017, 2018, called The 10 Paths to God. So why 10 paths? Seek God where he is to be found, call him when he is close. The sages were puzzled by this verse. When is God not close? Surely God is everywhere. Their answer was profound. God is always close to us, but we are not always close to God. At some point in life, every reflective human being will ask 3 fundamental questions. Who am I? Why am I here? And then how shall I live? Whether we believe or don't believe, these are actually religious questions. Science can tell us how life began, but it can never tell us what life is for. Anthropology can tell us the many ways in which people have lived, but it can never tell us how we should live. Economics and business studies can tell us how to generate wealth, but they cannot tell us what to do with the wealth we have made. The various sciences, natural, social, or human, can tell us how, but not why. The why question asks us to lift up our eyes beyond the immediate, in search of the ultimate. The name we give to the ultimate is God. The search for meaning at its heart is a religious quest. God is always close to us, but we are not always close to God. So how then do we become close to him? By living Jewishly, we will do, then we will understand, said our ancestors at Mount Sinai. So it is all in matters of the soul. We learn to love music by listening to music. We learn to be generous by performing acts of generosity. The heart follows the deed. Don't expect to have faith or find God by waiting for him to find us. We have to begin the journey, then God will meet us halfway. There are many ways of finding God, many paths to the divine presence. Rabbi Sacks has chosen 10 of the most important. The first is identity. We are born into a family that has a history. Who are we? To which story do we belong? The second is prayer, the most focused way in which we reach out to God. Third is study, the highest of all Jewish acts, which the sages said was more holy even than prayer. The fourth is mitzvot, the way of the commands. In prayer we find God by speaking. In study we find God in listening. In mitzvot we find God by doing. Then come the 3 great attributes of the Jewish personality. Tzedakah, which is love as justice. Chesed, which is love as compassion. And faith, love as loyalty. Judaism is a religion of love, not the mystical, otherworldly love that hovers above the world, leaving its imperfections intact, but the love that engages with the world, trying, one act at a time, one day at a time, one life at a time, to make it a little less cruel, a little more human and humane. Then lastly come the three great expressions of Jewish life. Israel, the one place on earth where Jews have the chance to do what every other nation takes for granted, namely the right to rule ourselves and create a society in accordance with our beliefs. Kiddush Hashem, sanctifying God's name in the world for acting as God's ambassadors. And lastly, responsibility, the idea that we are God's partners in the work of creation, and there is work for each of us to do in this tense and troubled age. Any of these 10 may be the starting point of a personal meditation, framed by such questions as, how does this apply to me? How can I act on it to become a better person? How can this help me to lead a more meaningful and fulfilled life? Some may not speak to you, others will, for there are many ways to the divine presence as there are Jews, said Rav Nachman of Bratslav about 200 years ago. Or as Rabbi Sachs puts it, where what we want to do meets what needs to be done, that is where God wants us to be. There are many ways to God. Where we begin doesn't matter so long as we begin. Jewish life is the circumference of a circle at whose centre is God. That is where we meet, whatever our starting point. However long we live, life is short, too short. Every day matters. Every day in which we do not do some good deed, take some step toward God, make some difference to the world, is a day lost. And our days on earth are too few to waste even one. Thank you.
As I mentioned before, his wife does the best work. Thank you so much for the insightful talk. I'd like to invite Secretary of the Vedanta Centre Committee, Shayne, to present a memento as a token of our gratitude. Alongside them, we'd also like to present a memento to Margaret Naylor. Turn your attention to the TV for a short video on the Vedanta Centre.
Ramakrishna taught us that all the religions are proceeding towards the same goal, that is God. The multiculturalism of Australia points out that we are one, but also we are many. Ultimately, all of us must attain to that oneness, which is beyond space, time, and causation, beyond all barriers of creed, race, or language. That is where Vedanta takes the lead in pointing out that we are all children of that one divine being.
As you come into this place It has transcendent energy.
Opening the door and walking in, there is a great sense of peace. A wonderful feeling, being alone, but not alone.
Maybe the best way to describe the ashram is from the lotus, which is a very sacred plant that you'll see throughout its teachings. The lotus is grown from the mud, which is the imperfection, but there is the perfection that we perceive as the flowering. All of this, the good and the bad, is from the same source, and really there is purity in everything.
I think because it's such a welcoming place, it's really what you want to make of it.
Vedanta stands for the liberation of one's own self and for the welfare of many. We conduct spiritual activities. We also have a soup kitchen that has been helping people who are hard pressed for meals, groceries. The idea behind all of this is not to show to the world that we are helping someone, it is that we are serving the divine in everyone.
Now that is very special, particularly in modern Australia. What will be uniquely different in Springfield is something you may not be seeing right at this moment, and that is its spiritual epicenter. And that was planted when Maharaj donated the land, and you have what you see today as the Vedanta Centre.
We have a saying, we raise from the animal to the human and from the human to the divine. This organization is meant for everyone. We want everyone to practice their own faith with more intensity.
I'd just like to remind everyone that a home-cooked free lunch will be served after today's proceedings, so please don't run off. Our next speaker worked in a number of fields, including property management, finance, and marine engineering. He completed theological training and was ordained in 1991. He is currently the General Secretary of the Queensland Churches Together. He is also a co-founder of the Queensland Community Alliance and the founding chair of Christian Religious Instruction. Please welcome Rev.David Baker.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you today. It is no small thing particularly in the culture of the West, to be establishing communities of faith and for them to become vital and living and a gift to their context, which this community obviously is, and of course sense of the vision of the Ramakrishna Mission over the last 125 years. So I want to pick up with a theme in response to the major theme that we've been asked to talk about today. In Christian theology, there's a term called the scandal of particularity. Now, scandal in this context is not about what you might read about what the latest celebrity's doing in the Courier Mail. The public media, what one commentator has now started to call the junk food for the mind. Scandal in this context means the concept of the original term of the meaning of the term, an offence, a trap, a snare, a stumbling block. And for Christian faith, we have to acknowledge that there is a scandal of particularity in what we confess, and that's embodied in the personal claims of Jesus, where he said things like, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me." He said, "I and the Father are one. I am the light of the world." He also said, "I am the resurrection and the life. Anyone who believes in me will live, even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me shall never die." This is the creedal confession of the Christian faith. That is, that in Jesus of Nazareth, all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell. We believe that in Jesus, God enters the human condition, and through his life and ministry, shows us what it is to be truly human, and through his death and resurrection gives new life to all, and enables us to experience as a foretaste the renewed creation that God is calling forth into being. So this is a confession in the sense that it is the teaching of the apostles, those who walked with Jesus, and it's been handed down over the centuries to us today. This truth has been encultured across time and place, all over the world, and we believe it is given to us that we should pass it on faithfully. In the midst of this revelation, for that is what we believe it is, a revelation, not a conclusion from experience or reason, there is moral teaching about how we are to live, but that teaching is derivative of revelation. C.S. Lewis, the great English apologist, made this comment. He said, "You can't call Jesus simply a good teacher. When you look at what he said about himself, you have to come to a conclusion that he is either a liar, a lunatic, or Lord." That's the scandal of the particularity of Jesus. With that particularity, Christians also confess that existence is still shrouded in mystery. We know very little of life after this tent, this body, meets its mortal end. As Paul said to the church in Corinth, the body that is sown is perishable, it is raised imperishable. It is sown in dishonour, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. But particularity, as I've talked about, does not necessarily equal exclusivity in the way we humans are so profoundly tempted to judge and to say who's in and who's out. Jesus' own teachings confound our desire to draw boundaries. Probably the most clear and remembered teaching on this is the parable of the sheep and the goats, as recorded in Matthew's Gospel. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, then he will sit on the throne of his glory. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate people one from another, as the shepherd separates sheep from goats. And he will put the sheep on his right hand and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those at his right hand, "Come, you that are blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you took care of me. I was in prison, and you visited me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you in these ways?" And the king will answer them, "Truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these who are members of my family, you did it to me." Then he will say to those at his left hand, "You that are accursed, depart from me into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me. Naked, and you did not give me clothing. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me." Then they will answer, "Lord, when did we see you in this way?" And he will answer them, "Truly I tell you, just as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me." This confounds our human constructs of the divine and of judgment. For here, Christ is hidden. The righteous are not self-consciously serving Christ out of religious duty. They are serving those deemed unworthy, and Christ is hidden in them. So here there is no creedal confession, no structure of belief that one owns for oneself, that is salvific, but rather a readiness to love one's neighbour who is in need, and to love them as one loves oneself. In another place, Jesus says, "Not everyone who calls me Lord, Lord will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father." So the path seems to be about self-emptying, about humility, and about love for neighbour, whoever that neighbour may be. So the church, the body of believers in Christ, cannot draw boundaries around who's in or who's out. The church recognises that the Holy Spirit operates outside the visible confines of the mystical body of Christ, that is, those baptised into the life of Christ. Here in Australia, for a specific and perhaps timely confession, the preamble of the Constitution of the Uniting Church, in reference to the First Nations peoples, said this: "We recognise that when the churches that formed the Uniting Church arrived in Australia as part of the process of colonisation, they entered a land that had been created and sustained by the triune God that they knew in Jesus Christ. Through this land, God had nurtured and sustained the first peoples of this country. The first peoples had already encountered the Creator God before the arrival of the colonisers. The Spirit was already present in the land, revealing God to the people through law, custom and ceremony. The same love and grace that was finally and fully revealed in Jesus Christ sustained the first peoples and gave them particular insights into God's ways. So as Christian faith confesses Jesus as Emmanuel, God with us, we also, in the same time in doing so, do not claim all wisdom or all knowledge of the ways of the divine." Thank you.
Thank you so much. To show our appreciation, we'd like to present Rev.David with a memento. I'd like to invite forward Professor Prasad to present it to the Reverend. Now, to be transported to Persia. Music from a time when the Middle East was the centre of everything. From the Bahai community of Brisbane, Miss Yalda Ahmadi. Miss Yalda Ahmadi will be playing the Persian Centaur. Please welcome her. Please join me in giving her another breath. Now that we've settled in Persia, we'll have a talk by Dr. Abbas, Muhajer, the Secretary of the Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of the City of Brisbane. The Baha'is of the City of Brisbane have their centre in Milton, Brisbane City. The Baha'i faith has been present in Australia since 1920. The central theme of the Baha'i faith is that humanity is one family, bound together in a common destiny, a global society. Please put your hands together and welcome Dr. Abbas.
First of all, good morning and namaste to everyone. What a beautiful building. I'm sure you're doing very spiritual, beautiful. And the music just transported me to the heavens. So I'm not coming back. First of all, thank you for the invitation. I bring you the greetings and the respect of the Baha'i community of Brisbane and the institution that manages the affairs of the Baha'is, the local spiritual assembly of the Baha'is of Brisbane. Dear friends, in thousands upon thousands of locations around the world, the teaching of the Baha'i faith inspires individuals and communities as they work to improve their own lives and contribute to the advancement of civilization. Baha'i beliefs address such essential themes as to the oneness of God and religion, the oneness of humanity and freedom from prejudice, the inherent nobility of human being, the progressive revelation of religious truth, the development of spiritual qualities, the integration of worship and service, the fundamental equality of sexes, the harmony between religion and science, the centrality of justice to all human affairs and endeavors, the importance of education, and the dynamics of the relationship that are to bind together the individual, the community, and the institutions, the result of which would be the advancement of humanity towards its collective maturity. In fact, Baha'u'llah, the Prophet founder of the Baha'i faith, says, "He who is your Lord, the All-Merciful, cherishes in his heart the desire of beholding the entire human race as one soul and one body." The Baha'i writings explains that the reality of God is beyond the understanding of any mortal man. Though we may find expressions of his attributes in every created being. Throughout the ages, he has sent us the succession of divine messengers, known as manifestations of God, to educate and guide humanity, to awaken the whole population's capacity to contribute to the advancement of civilization to an extent never possible before. Again, Baha'u'llah says, every created thing in the whole universe is but a door leading to the God's knowledge. God, the creator of the universe, is all-knowing, all-loving, and all-merciful. Just as the physical sun shines on the world, so the light of God is shed upon all creation. Through the teachings of the manifestations of God, amongst them Abraham, Krishna, Zoroaster, Moses, Buddha, Jesus Christ, Muhammad, and in more recent times, the Bab and Baha'u'llah, humanity's spiritual, intellectual, and moral capacities have been cultivated. Humanity, having passed through the ages of infancy and childhood, now stands at the threshold of its collective maturity, the hallmark of which will be the unification of the human race in global civilization. The emergence of this civilization, prosperous in both spiritual and material dimensions, implies that the spiritual and practical aspects of life are to advance harmoniously and together. Since the inception of the Baha'i faith in the 19th century, 180 years to be exact, a growing number of people have found in the teachings of Baha'u'llah a compelling vision of a better world. Many have drawn insights from these teachings, for example, on the oneness of humanity, on the equality of women and men, on the elimination of all kinds of prejudice, on the harmony of science and religion, and have sought to apply Baha'i principles in their own lives, at work, and in every possible way. Others have gone further and have decided to join the Baha'i community and participate in its efforts to contribute directly to the realization of Baha'u'llah's stupendous vision for humanity. Baha'is hail from all walks of life, young and old, men and women alike. They live alongside others in every land and belong to every nation. They share a common goal of serving humanity and refining their inner lives in accordance with the teachings of the Baha'i faith. The community to which they belong is one of learning and action, so it's all about being and doing. The teachings are what makes us transform ourselves spiritually, and what we do is act those things out. Practical component of those teachings. It is a community that strives to cultivate hope for the future of humanity, to foster purposeful effort, and to celebrate the endeavors of all that are working on the same path of service to promote unity and love. So having said that, what about today's topic? Baha'u'llah, the Prophet founder of the Baha'i faith, has said, religion is the greatest instrument for the order of the world and the tranquility of all existent beings. The weakness of the pillars of religion has encouraged the ignorant and rendered them audacious and arrogant. Truly I say, whatever lowers the lofty station of religion will increase heedlessness in the wicked and finally results in anarchy. He has also said that the fear of God commands people to do that which is just and forbids them from doing what is evil. If the lamp of religion remains concealed, agitation and anarchy would prevail. And yet again, the development of the world, the training of nations, the tranquility of the servants, and the security of the people of the world have been due to the divine precepts and ordinances. He says the religion is the greatest cause for the appearance of this great gift. Clearly, the religion of God is to create love and unity. But the ignorant, who are the victims of self and desire, are heedless of the supreme wisdom, and their words and deeds are grounded in fancy and imagination. Prejudice and fanaticism of whatever kind are destructive to the foundation of human oneness. Since religion must be the cause of unity, harmony and agreement amongst mankind, if it is instead be the cause of discord and disunity, it should be abandoned. This is the teaching of Baha'u'llah. If religion becomes the cause of separation, he says, then it is not needed. For it lacks a remedy. If the remedy is no good, why should we use it? As long as man's prejudices continue, the world of humanity will not have rest. For a period of 6,000 years, history informs us that man has waged war for religious and other prejudices. Religion is a mighty fortress, but if the structure of religion shakes, disturbance and upset appear, and the order of things is utterly upset. So, the religion of God must train man, educate morals, cause the adoption of virtues, and is the all-inclusive power which guarantees the well-being of the world of mankind. But by religion is meant that which is proved by investigation of the truth, and not that which is based on mere imitations. The foundation of the divine religion is what we're looking for. The Lord of mankind has caused his holy divine manifestations to come into this world. He has revealed his heavenly books in order to establish a spiritual brotherhood, and through the power of the Holy Spirit has made it possible for perfect fraternity to be realized amongst mankind. And when this fraternity and agreement are established, this brotherhood and love being spiritual in character, this loving kindness being heavenly, these ties being divine, a unity appears, which is unchanging and eternal. It has ever been so and will forever remain the same. The foundation of real brotherhood, the cause of loving cooperation and interchange, and the source of real kindness and unselfish devotion is none other than the influence of the Holy Spirit. What is the source of religious enmity and alienation, you may ask? The real underlying cause is lack of religious unity and association. For in each of the great religions we find superstition, blind imitation of creeds and theological dogma clung to instead of the divine fundamental elements, causing the differences and separation instead of agreement and fellowship. Therefore, hatred has arisen. Based upon this, then there is this difference and disagreement. Each of the divine religions contains two aspects. Baha'is believe these two aspects are spiritual teachings, and they stay exactly the same. If you look at the spiritual teachings of every religion, they have said the same. No divine religion will come and tell you, be bad, do this, harm others. Nothing like that. It's the social principles, the second aspect, that change according to the exigencies of the time and what is required. So in these days, we know that the prophets of God, the manifestations of God have come all from East. And then on the West, we see the material development and progress. I like to suggest that there must be a unity of East and West. That there must be a coherence of this spiritual and material union. That there must be a unity of vision so that the whole world can be the global village we believe in. So in conclusion, friends, the manifestations of God, the messengers themselves, have love, praise, and testify of each other. Why should mankind disagree and be unfriendly? God is one. We are his servants and creatures, and therefore we should live together in love and unity. Shall we show justice and goodwill towards each other, or shall we praise ourselves and condemn each other? What possible good can come from the attitude and action that are negative? On the contrary, nothing but enmity and hatred, injustice and inhumanity can be the possible result. Has not this been the cause of war in the last few years? We see a lot of them. So mankind is blessed with learning. Many are well informed in the comparative study of religions. People realize the need of unity and know the great harm which comes from prejudice and superstition. If asked, is not fellowship and brotherhood to be preferred to enmity and hatred? The answer is self-evident. Love and fellowship are absolutely needed to win the good pleasure of God, which is the goal of all human beings and all of our achievements. We must be united. We must love each other. We must shower praise upon everyone, regardless of their background, gender, age, ethnicity, country. And we must remove any barrier that is causing discord and disharmony. Otherwise, the conditions of the past will continue. Religious wars will have no end, and religious prejudice, the major cause of this trial and tribulation, will increase. This must be abandoned, and the way to do it is to investigate the reality which underlies all religions. This underlying reality is the love of our fellow human being. For God is one and humanity is one. And the only doctrine of the prophets is love and unity. However, knowledge of human conditions and the needed remedy for them is not itself the cause of conflict. A divine power is needed. And I'm sure all of us join in having that vision of world peace, unity of mankind, oneness of religion, oneness of God, our Creator. Towards that we all can walk on this path and labor on this path of service. I invite you to join me, and I'm happy to work with you, shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand, towards that world peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As a token of our gratitude, we would like to present Dr. Abbas Muhajer and performer Ms. Yalda Ahmadi with mementos. I'd like to ask Dr. Gopal Bose to come forward to present this. By Venerable Vinaya representing Buddhism. He is from the Buddhist Vihara of Queensland. This temple is located at 108 Eric Street in Goodna.
First of all,
apologize for this. This was a last minute thing that we had to do. This is definitely an engineering and technical issue, not a spiritual issue. Because the Bante, the monk, had a last minute appointment, he couldn't stay for the show, and we recorded it very last minute at 10 a.m. today. Looks like with all the engineers that are here, we couldn't get it right. So we apologize for that, but we will have our young lady keep us going for the next part of the event.
We now move away from the faith-based community leaders to show someone who looks after us in the Australian Parliament. He was elected to the federal seat of Blair in 2007 and 5 more times after that. He's been in Parliament for longer than I've been alive. Please welcome Honorary Mr. Shayne Neumann.
That does make me feel very old indeed. Thank you very much. When I was asked to speak this morning, I was a bit intimidated by the fact that I saw so many theologians and spiritual leaders, and I'm not a theologian, I'm a politician. And but I will tell my story in a sense, because the politic is personal. I grew up in a working class family. Dad was a cleaner in the meat works, and Mum was a shop assistant in the back of Ipswich State Primary School, in a working class family. It was a family that was quite complex in the sense that it was afflicted by alcoholism, domestic and family violence, and gambling addiction as well. But in many ways it was quite simple, because we played sport on Saturday, we went to church on Sunday, and we supported the Labor Party. It was a pretty simple life. But across the road from me, there was a man who I admired and respected, who I didn't always agree with, but he was a union leader. His name was Charles Digger Murphy. He lived to about 100 years of age. Digger, as he was affectionately known, would always be there. On Labor Day in Ipswich, we celebrated that yesterday, and so I was reminded about Digger's life. Now, Digger believed in 3 things, apart from having a number of daughters. He believed in 3 things: playing golf, the Viking Swimming Club, and supporting the Communist Party. Now, Digger tried to recruit me on multiple occasions to the Communist Party, but told me that it was the issue of faith that prevented me from becoming a communist. I tried to tell him that he had a faith as well, but refused to believe that. Faith, I thought, was important, and I believed not in revolution, but in evolution. I believed in social democracy, parliamentary system of government, and the separation of powers. That is, the separate judiciary, legislature, and executive. But I also believed in the Christian faith. And my faith growing up was about the faith of St. Paul, and faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these being love. And I'm sure you've heard that passage being spoken of in 1 Corinthians chapter 13 at many weddings. It was the faith that found in John's Gospel, chapter 15, about giving your life for your fellow human being. Or the faith in Romans chapter 12 about service and sacrifice. But also the faith in the Son of God, Jesus of Nazareth, talking about faith in the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, that talked about that we are blessed are the peacemakers, for they should be called the children of God. So I also believe, like David, that there are paths in which we can celebrate and enjoy spirituality. And that unity of humanity comes from different expressions of spirituality. I feel very much at home here at Swamiji, because you know very well I've got you plenty of federal government grants over the years. But in addition to that, I also feel very much at home because I recognise people of various faith. I learned when I was much younger that faith was so important, but it wasn't just faith, it had to be faith with works. So I wasn't a communist, I was a communitarian. I believed in community, not communism. And I believe that our community is a multi-faith, multicultural community. But we have always been that because our First Nations people had different faith systems in the time of dreamings and storytelling. So we don't recognise and haven't recognised that until probably the 1980s in Australia, when we became used to the word multicultural. I think it's important for us, as Dr. Abbas said before, that we respect one another. It's not just about toleration, it's about respect and that active communitarian caring for one another. Every great religion believes in the second great commandment in mind, about loving your neighbour as yourself. And every great religion should think about that and treat one another with that great respect. I think extremisms of the far left and the far right are both anti-religion and both anti-spiritual. I think it's critical in our democracy in which we live today that we respect one another and give our First Nations people a voice. But I also think it's important that all of us should give every person's religion a voice and should be accepted in the polity and in the discussion discourse of our community. Too often in our country there is criticism of religion as if there is no acceptance of the good works that all various religions do. So it's important we today come together in unity of humanity and spirituality and recognise that. So I want to thank you all for what you do in the various communities. How do you put that second greatest commandment into practice? Loving your neighbour as yourself. And as we think about that, and as we are on the dawn or the eve, can I just say, of a budget where there'll be much comment on the economic. Today we're commenting on the ecumenic, which is very different. But it shouldn't be, because people's spirituality should be linked to their materiality. And it's crucial that that's the case. So thank you very much for the invitation today. In my political life, my faith is so important to me. Each and every day I endeavour to pray and I read my Bible. Today for the theologians, I'll explain to me 2 Chronicles, which I read this morning, parts thereof, because I'm sure I don't understand that parts. And there are many things in all spiritual books that are difficult. So thank you very much for this moment of unity, moment of coming together, the ecumenic, not the economic. So thank you very much today. As we enjoy fellowship over a meal, that material is common to us, but the spirituality will be expressed in the conversations that we have together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'd like to invite Sharon Shah to present Mr. Shayne Neumann with a token of gratitude. We now have a change of pace, a devotional song by Juku Jobin and Vibu from the St. Thomas Church community.
ഇന്നോളം ദൈവ
ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ നീ എന്നാത്മാവിൽ പ്രകാശമായി ഇരുളലമൂടും ഹൃദയത്തിൽ നിന്റെ തിരുവചനം ദീപ്തിയായി കാൽവരിക്കുന്നെൻ മനസ്സിൽ കാണും നിന്നു ഞാൻ ക്രൂശിലെന്റെ സ്നേഹരൂപം ഓർത്തു പാടും ഞാൻ പോയെന്റെ ദൈവമേ പ്രാണന്റെ ഗേഹമേ നിന്നിൽ മറയട്ടെ ഞാൻ ദൈവം തന്നതല്ലാതൊന്നും ഇല്ല എന്റെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ ദൈവത്തിൻ്റെ സ്നേഹം പോലെ മറ്റൊന്നില്ല പാരിടത്തിൽ എന്റെ സങ്കടത്തിൽ പങ്കുചേരും ദൈവമാശ്വാസം പകർന്നിടും എന്നിൽ സന്തോഷത്തിൻ വേളയേകും ദൈവമാശ്വാസം പകർന്നിടും പിഴവുകളേറ്റു ചൊന്നാൽ ക്ഷമയരുളും തിരുഹൃദയം എനിക്കായി തുറന്നു തരും പോയെന്റെ ദൈവമേ ജീവന്റെ മാർഗമേ നിന്നോടു ചേരട്ടെ ഞാൻ ദൈവം തന്നതല്ലാതൊന്നും ഇല്ല എന്റെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ ദൈവത്തിൻ്റെ സ്നേഹം പോലെ മറ്റൊന്നില്ല പാരിടത്തിൽ ഇന്നോളം ദൈവമെന്നെ കാത്തതോർത്തു പോകുകിൽ എത്ര കാലം ജീവിച്ചെന്നാലും നന്ദിയേകിത്തീരുമോ ദൈവം തന്നതല്ലാതൊന്നും ഇല്ല എന്റെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ ദൈവത്തിൻ്റെ സ്നേഹം പോലെ മറ്റൊന്നില്ല പാരിടത്തിൽ
Our next talk will be by Dennis Bartram, a chaplain from the Ipswich Hospital. A friend of the Vedanta Centre, he has graced our events before. A migrant from Scotland with a rich and diverse family history. A doctor, mainly performing skin cancer surgeries. Currently an interfaith seminarian who has always been interested in the study of comparative religion. Please welcome Dr. Dennis Bartram.
Thank you very much for the invitation. My apologies for getting here late and missing the first talk. I apologise. We left with plenty of time, but the GPS worked against our best intentions, and we got lost. And we found ourselves within about a kilometre of here, but on the other side of this forest. Now, I initially started to get a little bit stressed. I mean, it's the most stressful day of the year for me, this one, because it's the only day of the year that I have to find two socks that are the same colour. But as we were walking along this this path, my wife and I, we went to a swamp, feet got wet, and we thought, this is all for the Swami. Then I thought, Swami has fiddled with the GPS. He's been praying this morning. His topic today is about many paths, many faiths, and he's trying now to see if I'm actually going to get here. Thanks, Swami. So we've heard a lot of wonderful things this morning about gross manifestations from the East. Jesus, Yahweh, Baha'u'llah, Muhammad. Shayne and I from the West, we're from Ipswich. We don't really hold ourselves up there with the other manifestations, but we'll do our best. So thank you, Swami, for this invitation. I look forward to this occasion every year because I love the premise of it, the idea of getting people together. I'd like to share a little story with people about my return to East Timor last year with a bunch of veterans. I'm a defence veteran in a few places, and they chose Timor because it's a place that we didn't mess up. It's not far away, and they're known for their forgiveness of their enemies. I was there and I was having problems with excuse me, connectivity. Not that lot, but talking to my crazy wife at home. I asked a few people and they said, well, I've got no idea what's going on. Go and talk to a young agent who's a 38-year-old commander who had 5 trips to Afghanistan and completely and utterly mentally decompensated a year or so ago and needed ECT therapy and what have you. But he's an absolute genius with technical stuff. So I said, the problem, Doc, is with your VPN. I thought, well, that's great, he got another bloody TLA. What does that mean? Well, your virtual private network. Please elaborate. Anyway, it turns out, he says, because I'm not very techy, it's a bit like having one pipe inside a big pipe. Your pipe allows you to get where you want to go, but exclude other people. And that got me thinking. Not saying this is the case, but I think it can be the case, that sometimes our faiths act a little bit like a VPN. We're going in the same direction, got the same intentions, but we don't talk enough to the people either side because of a degree of encryption in our scriptures, in our talk, in our actions. So how do we escape these spiritual VPNs? I don't know, but I should get on to the Swami's theme, of which I'm in charge. How does my faith help an individual to recognise diversity in other faiths? He always asks rippers. Any agnostics here besides me? So the idea of being an agnostic is a term introduced by Thomas Huxley, Aldous Huxley's father, back in the 1870s. And it doesn't mean you don't believe in God, it just means you're not really sure. And some would argue we're probably not agnostics because we're hoping, but no one's actually come back and specifically banging you on the head and said this is true. So I try and keep as much as I can an open mind, and I love all spiritualities. I was baptised and confirmed as an Anglican, and I was looking at maybe becoming an Anglican priest some years back. And in a sense I'm glad I still have that Anglican background, but I've been really keen to explore other faiths, which is what led me to the Interfaith Seminary in America. During my introduction, I was still a seminarian. I've now graduated through that, just enough to know absolutely nothing about anything in particular, and very keen to learn. I love wearing this dog collar. It takes the piss out of a lot of people that take themselves too bloody seriously. But also it allows me to be recognised. And I work as a hospital chaplain, and the other day, a fellow chaplain and myself were walking through palliative care, and this lady came distraught and said, my God, you're a priest. I said, well, I'm not God, I'm not really a priest, but what's going on? And he said, well, my father's just died. So I was with a Roman Catholic man, and I said, well, did your dad have any particular faith? He said, yes, Roman Catholic. And I said, hey, Barry, get over here, you know all about the Pope and that stuff, need your help. So we went into that room, we listened, we held hands with the recently dead dad, mum and daughter. And at the end of that time, they were both in tears, we were far off. And I said, as I normally do, well, what do you want, Mum? Hug or a hand? Great big hug. And she would have got to hug the daughter too, great big hug. We sort of walked out of that room as though we'd been shot out of a cannon, and we thought, wow, they saw this collar, must mean something. The others are a bit too chicken to wear one, so we're going to get a different coloured t-shirt. But what the hell, as long as they can recognise it. So I see patients and families in great distress in hospital. And I am very comfortable with that. I wouldn't always have been, but I am. I like especially talking to those that are agnostic or have let their faith go or are atheists. I like to sit down with them where they're at and explore where they're at and where they want to go. What I feel I am able to do at times is to listen to their stories, take their guilt for not having gone to church recently, for not keeping up observances, and let them realise that the spirituality that they have inside them, which they may yet not have recognised, is alive and well, and help them maybe, just maybe, to find it. I mean, you've got to admit they're in hospital. It's perfect. They're in a bed. They can't let it escape. It's like I'm going to masturbate them to death. Okay, so I'm saying there, interesting about it now. Get the point. How do I assist others to recognise diversity in other faiths? Well, first of all, I sit down with them. I learned this trick when I was a doctor. If you sit down, they think you're there for twice as long. If you stand at the door twirling your keys, or stand there at the bed, time goes very, very quickly. And the lack of attention, lack of specificity is. So I listened attentively. Haven't got the phone with me, I don't need it. I give them permission to doubt. I give them permission to fail, seek forgiveness, not from me, but from whatever I conscience makes them. First of all, I encourage them to accept diversity in me, and for me to accept diversity in myself, such that they can then accept them in themselves. I relish disagreement. I love people that say, it's all rubbish. Because I've learned so much more when people disagree. We all agree, it's sort of a bit bland. I just love to talk about some of these things, and every time I learn something. Lastly, I can reassure these people that there is only one race, the human race. This idea of lots of races is a white supremacist construct from far too long ago. There's only one race. And it's the role of all of us to help everybody to the finishing line. So in conclusion, I would like to read. It's okay, it's only one little paragraph. A little saying by one of the people I think a lot of, Al-Halaj, who lived from 888 to 922. A Sufi mystic from Baghdad. And this particular paragraph is called The One. I have meditated on the different religions, endeavouring to understand them, and I have found that they stem from a single principle with numerous ramifications. Do not therefore ask a man to adopt a particular religion rather than another, for this would separate him from the fundamental principle. It is this principle itself which must come to seek him. Thank you.
To express our gratitude, we'd like to present Dr. Dennis Bartram with a memento. I'd like to invite Shankar Kota to do the honours. If he looks familiar, that's because he's my dad. I would argue I'm a bit better looking than him though.
Oh, we won't go there, would we?
Next, we have a very special presentation. The person in the presentation will tell you more about herself and her message to the people that she comes in contact with. We request you to turn your attention to the TV screen for this very special treat.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I greet you with the traditional Islamic greeting of peace and abundant blessings from the one God. My name is Princess R. Lakshman. I'm grateful to be invited by the Vedanta Centre Brisbane chapter to this beautiful multi-faith event. My deepest apologies that are not there in person. Inshallah, God willing, this pre-recorded video serves as a means to effectively deliver the message that is included in my speech today. I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity today to share my perspectives on the theme this year. As many faiths, so many paths. And especially my perspectives on how my faith helps an individual to recognize diversity in other faiths. I wish to start by seeking our Creator's blessing. In Arabic, Muslims refer to the Creator as Allah. I pray that Allah blesses me with the right words for today's speech, and Allah blesses each one of you, dear listeners, to understand my words and the true intention of my words, and may there be zero confusion or misconstruction of my words. Ameen Ya Rab. I wish to also point out my dear sisters, brothers, and children in the audience. I wish to point out that my perspectives today are my own and do not represent the collective Muslim population's perspectives about diversity in faith. As I am sure that your own individual perspectives on any matter are your own. I am a practicing Muslim. However, I was not born in a Muslim family. I embraced Islam out of choice in 2012. No, it was not for marriage reasons, because I was very much a single woman in my search of my own truth and my personal connection with my Creator. My search started from my first realization of the Creator. I was only 4 years old at that time. My personal journey of seeking allowed me to read and appreciate many great philosophies and holy books. Finally, in February of 2012, at the age of 37, the Holy Quran was the book that made logical and practical sense to me about humanity, moral guidance, equality, justice, the difference between oppressor and the oppressed, the equal but different roles of men and women in the home and in society, the rules of warfare, the obligations of an individual towards one's children, one's parents, one's community, and one's rituals of worship. When I was writing this speech and pondering today's theme, which is as many faiths, so many paths, I realized something about this theme that deeply resonates with my personal connection with Allah, God, or Creator of all that ever was, will be, and is. I realized that perhaps it is not many faiths and many paths, but rather many religions and many paths that share a common yearning to knowing a feeling that we call faith. That feeling that connects one's mind, body, and spirit into one's realization of the Creator. This connection is unseen, intangible, deeply felt, and intuitively intense, and is crystal clear, unquestionable, undoubtable. You know, that connection that is perceived as faith in a power most high, a force that can create, destroy, recreate, a divine force that breathes us indiscriminately for as long as we're alive. It births us and allows death upon us. So many religions and so many paths that speak about that common yearning for the faith in that mighty force. Now, that's my personal interpretation. And so with that personal interpretation of the word faith, what is my perspective on the many religions and many paths, and how does the religion of Islam, a path set for all of humanity, allow individuals to recognize diversity in other religious paths of faith. Let me firstly explain the word Muslim and Islam. Most people will say Muslim means the one who believes in Islam. But what does Islam mean? The actual translation of the Arabic word Islam is to surrender to that one creator, the one single mighty force and power that created all that ever was, is, and will be. A Muslim is the one who surrenders to the creator and the divine plan. Therefore, a Muslim is the one that practices the surrendering act, known in Arabic as Islam. Now, I know that mainstream media has a significant role in creating a perception of Islam that shows women who are oppressed, men who are oppressive, and religious intolerance. But the reality of nearly 1.8 billion Muslims is very different from what CNN or Channel 7 might have believed. The reality is that the Holy Quran, which is the book a Muslim receives divine guidance from, teaches all of humanity to treat one another with mercy, compassion, kindness, and justly, equally, and respectfully. Islam teaches me to respect you even when I disagree with you. For example, if you say to me that you're not a believer of one God, then I know from the 109th chapter of the Holy Quran to respond to you with this, and I quote, "Say, O disbelievers, I do not worship what you worship, nor are you worshippers of what I worship, nor will I be a worshipper of what you worship, nor will you be a worshipper of what I worship. For you is your religion, and for me is my religion." Unquote. Nowhere in that verse do I receive guidance to treat you disrespectfully, nor with contempt, nor with oppression or attack. It teaches me to tell you that we're different, and that's okay. You go your way, I'll go my way. Another example is the verse in the Quran that addresses racism. Islam came to abolish all racism and to unite humanity. Chapter 30, verse 22 reads, and I quote, "And of his signs is the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the diversity of your tongues and colors. Indeed, these are signs in this for the wise." Unquote. And in chapter 49, verse 13, and I quote, "O mankind, we created you from a single pair of a male and a female, and made you into nations and tribes, that you may know each other, not that you may despise each other. Verily, the most honored of you in the sight of Allah is he who is most righteous of you, and Allah has full knowledge and is well acquainted with all things." Unquote. There may be questions in your mind about Muslims in the world who punish people in the name of apostasy. Let me clarify that there is no such commandment in the Holy Quran, and there is no example of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, of ever punishing anyone for the act of renunciation of Islam. Again, I urge you to understand that if there are badly behaved Muslims who perform deeds based on their own twisted ideologies and political agenda, please do not confuse that to represent Islam. An oppressive Hindutva extremist, for example, does not represent all Hindus. A convicted pedophile of the Catholic faith does not represent all Catholics. A violent Buddhist in Myanmar does not represent all Buddhists. A Zionist oppressor in Israel does not represent all Jews. A white supremacist neo-Nazi does not represent all Christians. And so you could say that terribly behaved Muslims with their own twisted ideologies and political agendas do not represent the rest of the 1.8 billion Muslims who go about their daily business, like I do, trying to live peacefully and respectfully with people who have all types of beliefs and values and cultural practices and rituals. Islam has taught me to understand the beauty of inclusivity, the beauty of praying together, shoulder to shoulder, in congregation, irrespective of a person's bloodline, surname, caste, race, culture, academic status, spiritual awareness or spiritual status, wealth status. The only thing that matters is that we are a creation of Allah, of God, of that one creator, and we're only judged by our deeds. Are we performing deeds of injustice, oppression, racism, classism, casteism, and other acts of discrimination? Or are we agreeing to respectfully, kindly, compassionately disagree whenever we do have disagreements? Islam teaches me that I am not to judge anyone for their faith and their religious path. I dare not have the audacity to even think that I can judge anyone on anything. Islam teaches me to surrender to Allah for the ultimate judgment of good and evil. And Islam teaches me to remain humble in my humanness and show kindness and mercy to all of creation. Islam teaches me that whilst there may be many diverse paths to practicing one's faith, that there is one humanity. Islam teaches me not to divide humanity into sects or classes or creed, and to appreciate diversity. Islam teaches me to wish you peace when I greet you, and to wish you peace when I say goodbye. And with that, my dear sisters, brothers, and children, I bid you farewell with the Islamic greeting of peace and blessings upon you from God. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
We now have a dance interlude, Pushpanjali, performed by Malarville Kandaiah students. Malarville's dance school is known as Abbinayia Barathalaayam. They conduct classical Indian Bharatanatyam dances every Wednesday evening in the community hall downstairs in the Vedanta Centre. Classes are available for all ages. Please welcome them to the front. Our next speaker is commonly seen at various events. He is also the author of the book on Sufi meditation. Please welcome Dr. Barathalaayam, the Paratz.
You read something from Hannah, from your book.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you for that.
Thank you.
So, I'm glad. I want to narrate a saying of a 9-year-old boy. A comment from a 9-year-old martyred Iranian boy. In the name of God of the rain. In the name of the God of the rain. 9-year-old boy. May feeling in my heart, thoughts in my mind, words on my tongue, be blessed by thy divine love and wisdom. The theme is how an individual recognizes diversity in different places. Let us talk about love. I usually talk about love because I don't know anything else. And I think love is enough.
Turn this off.
we trust many of us have drank a few drops from the goblet of love. And many of us, it could be still or intoxicated from having those drops. Really, if there was no love in this world, what else was? When a person in love sees their beloved, their heart beats faster and faster. The color of their face becomes red. Their hands tremble. And when they try to say something, they even forget the simplest word. They lose themselves in the moment. Isn't it true? And beauty. As the love is blind, then gender, color, religion, nationality, education, wealth, stand in the society of people does not matter at all, does it? All love. Love is all. Anybody, anywhere they may be, and any language they may speak. All is love. It's only 11 pages, not more. Can I admit that people are different? Can we admit that people are individual and unique? Do we believe that love, each one, is different from the love of another person? That's all love. If so, we can invent. Get my glasses. If so, how can anyone claim that they are able to assess, judge, or value other people's sentiment and emotions? For instance, how might I express my love for you? Duset kara. That is, I love you in person. I was going to do something, but I think you are tired. I was going to ask you, please stand, look round, choose a person, look into the eye, and tell him, I love you in any language you like. Do you like to do that, or you are tired? It makes you ready for a big band. In Islam, in Arabic language, we say ana ahibuk. Ti amor in Italiano. Je t'aime in French. Si agapo in Greek. Uani in Chinese. Ich liebe dich. I love you in German. And ik van you in Belgium. And again, you sit down. And please love each other. Therefore, who am I? As Salom Muzaffari Faloti, something. As a human member of the Sufi order, who himself is another human, limited in all dimensions, to make a judgment on feeling, thoughts, even apparent deed or manner of another person. Why should I do that? Who am I to make any decision about it? We are to love each other. A 9-year-old boy martyred from Iran is said, in the name of the God of the rainbow. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't it out of love? What did this boy mean? Did he mean that there are so many gods and one of them has created the rainbow? Or there are so many rainbows created by only God? Wherever we are standing on the sea, I should say this, I forgot to write it here. The creation is like a big circle. There is one center and the circumference. The center is our creator. God, Vishnu, Jesus, Muhammad, you name it, doesn't make much difference. Circumference is us. How many people are there on this circumference? But there is only one center. Many faith, but one creator. Sufis believe that the creator of the whole existence is the one and the only one. But people, to connect and restore to him, choose a name close to their heart. I love to say to God, Allah, or Ahura. Ahura is what the Zarathustra first time gave the name of Ahura. Somebody said Yahovah. Somebody says Buddha. The other person says that is something else. Shakespeare, he said, what is in a name? What is in a name? The feeling of the heart. You can be my friend. The people cast their faith in that name with love, sins, and sincerity, according to their own pace that they are traveling on the radius of that circumference towards the center. Rumi says, David, you like it? Rumi says, Ma durun rao nangarim o rao, but durun rao bengarim o haul rao. Dr. Abbas, isn't it? You observe tranquility and quiet condition of the heart. You don't worry that what are you pretending, talking, or making us. We want your heart, not the deed of your words, the thoughts of your tongue. A Sufi understands that when creation of people varies from one person to the other one, when people express themselves in different languages, which is strange to other one, when people are different in color, size, and shape, as well as their feeling, understanding, the way they express their feelings of love in their heart, of their opinion, their taste, the way they are thinking, deciding, all of them are different. The way we love each other is different. The way we express love is different. Sufi does not allow themselves to be the assessor, the judge. Sufis are numbers. Any circle has infinity points on around the circumstance, but only one center. Each one of us, we walk toward that center, we walk. But we walk individually. Each point on circumstances of the circle has an individual and private connection by the radius to the center. So, my friends, my dear friends, do Setunda, I love you. From where I stand on the circle as a dervish or Sufi, I can see you all standing on the circle, facing the center. So we are doing the same thing. No matter if you are a politician, a peasant, or a priest. So many faiths. There cannot be many, may not be any diversion in faith. One occasion, one creator, one creation, one love. Express different. People fall in love and stay in love and stay in love to the end. The way people express their love to their creator is individual. And it may seem strange to other people. Each one is different, the way to express or feeling in their heart. Please do think, my sisters and brothers of the circle. We are all dots on the circle. Any circle has infinite points on that. And then so many paths. Sufis believe in one creator, one face to that creator. One person path is different from the path from the other one. I go from this way, you go from that way, someone from that way to the center. Maybe we are walking in different directions. Exactly different. But we are still trying to do things. So everybody sees different paths, different face. The dervish sees one point, one love, everyone the same. So Sufi believes in one creator, one face to the creator, one person who walks on the path of love. All the diversity is only enough.
Thank you so much. We would like to express our gratitude to Dr. Palarti by presenting him the memento. We will now have a second performance by the Malarville dance group. Please welcome them back. Nadananjali, who has travelled all the way from Sri Lanka to be here today to speak on the subject of Hinduism. Please give him a warm welcome.
सर्वधर्मस्थापकत्वं सर्वधर्मस्वरूपकः आचार्यो रामकृष्णाय नमः सुरासुरासेवितपादपङ्कजा करैराजत्कमनीयपुस्तका विरिञ्चि पत्नी कमलासनस्थिता सरस्वती नित्यतु वाचि सदा. Good afternoon, all the dignitaries and assembled devotees. I am very happy to participate in this interfaith meeting. In fact, this is the need of the day. From time immemorial, the quest for the purpose of life was going on in various places. Recently, a book was published, Modern Man in Search of a Soul. But actually, in search of a soul was time immemorial. From the beginning, man was searching for some purpose and goal of life. This search has led to different methods and pathways, depending on their locality and customs, background, climate, habits, because they have evolved different pathways. And following those pathways, many have achieved illumination and reached the goal also. But one thing was lacking, there was no intercommunication between these pathways. So about 200 years ago, from India, a saintly person came, that is Sri Ramakrishna Mission. He had the quest to know the value or validity of different faiths and paths. For the first time in history, he practiced the different paths in his life and found that they all take the mankind to the same goal. Only the goal appears to be different because they have different background. Because they were practiced by different people. So it naturally bound to be so. But since a single person practiced them, he understood this difference I mentioned here, the goal is same. So he proclaimed he sent us as many faiths, so many paths. But at the same time, we should not think it's a new discovery. It's not a new. Many thousands years ago, the Indian Vedic seers, they also declared in their language, that in Sanskrit, Ekam Sat Vipra Baudha Vadanti. The truth is one, but sages call it by various names. Names differ, but the ultimate reality is one and the same. So Sri Ramakrishna's contribution is to revalidate the ancient truth and revalidate or to demonstrate the harmony of all this faith. It is the greatest contribution for mankind to establish the harmony of truth. And he used to give one example to illustrate his discovery or rediscovery. In a house, mother cooks different food to suit the digestive capacity of the children. It may be the same item, but she cooks in a different way. For grown-up people, they are rich food. At the same time, very bland food. Easy to digest for young ones and those who have got weaker stomach. The same food cannot be given to everyone. It is understood, it is known fact. The same way, approach of religion also varies from person to person. So, all people can't follow the same type of discipline. You can't expect a beginner to go into deep meditation or yoga practices. So, like that, variants are necessary. So, these variations are natural and bound to be. The same truth expressed by Swami Vivekananda in a slightly different form that he told. Unity and variety is the plan of nature. To understand this unity and variety, we have got so many examples around us. For example, you can see this garden, beautiful garden. It has many colors, different flowers, colors are there. So that gives the beauty. If it is the same color, only a single color, that beauty goes. It becomes almost boring, bland. As a garden, it's a single unit. It is unified. A single object, garden, but it has got varieties in it, having different colors. Same thing applies to flowers or a garden, or in our food habit also. In daily food habit, we have got different taste. We can have different, same variety all along. Dressing also, we have got so many varieties. So as human beings, we are all humans, united, but we have got varieties. That forms the society, a unified society, but with differences. To suit their own needs, this is known as Desh, Kala, Nimita. According to different places and customs and habit, needs, so we have got different approaches, but still we are one. This is known as Yatra Vishwam Bhavat Ekanidam. Whole universe comes as a small village where we all live together harmoniously, shaking hand and embracing each other. Udara Charitanandu Vasudhaiva Kumbhakam. That's another saying. For a broad-minded man, the whole world is one family. So we belong to one family with common goal, but different habits, different customs. This truth has been given to us by seers and sages, but recently, as I told you earlier, Sri Ramakrishna has demonstrated in his life for our convenience. Those who have got a doubt, this doubt's natural for any religious seeker. As time passes, there creeps in many unwanted practices. This is common in all religion, in all parts of life also. So that creates doubts in the minds of sincere devotees. Which is right, which is wrong? Or are we going the right path or not?
necessary. As told by Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, time to time, the Lord takes the form of human and clarifies all the doubts and demonstrates and establishes the Dharma for the sake of the benefit of all. So that has been formed in Sri Ramakrishna's life. So during the latest edition of this divine personality, he and Swami Vivekananda repeatedly tell him, we human beings, basically we are all divine. The divinity is the common for all. It's our own property. But as humans having the same divinity, we may appear different, external. This difference are external, but the source, the core, the basic thing is the divinity. Today I heard from various speakers the divinity. They are also expressing the word divinity and unity of humankind. So that is the purpose of today's interfaith meeting. If this meeting can help majority of people at large, to bring the humankind into one umbrella. As we are human, we are one. But we may have different paths, different ideas to reach the same goal. We are going towards the same goal. We are progressing towards the same goal. That should be in our mind. And I feel today's meeting has contributed to a great extent the same idea, so that we can cherish that idea in our mind, and in turn we can give it to others also, whomever we meet, and those who do not come here, they all must get this message, and they can spread the message all over the world, so that we can have a harmonious world with a humankind, what do you call it? Mankind, united. Not that we are different, we are all one, because of the basic divinity in us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maharaj. Well, you saw me at the start of the day saying good morning. Now I'll say good afternoon. So therefore, we all know where your mind is. It's not with me, but with your stomachs. Understandable. But before I send you on your way to feed the part of you that wants to be fed the most, first of all, some apologies. The day didn't go exactly to plan, and despite the voluminous number of engineers that we have in our presence, we couldn't make it go to plan. Things just kept failing. I suppose it's a reflection of our own lives. Things keep failing and we keep recovering. But we've recovered. At least you can go for lunch soon. Secondly, a big thank you. A big thank you to Sampada, who was your MC for most of the day. And given the fact that she is a young person, it's great to know that she's willing to spend her day with us, listening to speeches from us, rather than being out in the shopping center whiling away her time. For that, I give her great credit, and I would like all of you to One last thing, when she started, she said, out with the old, in with the new. I just want to say that the old will always have the last word. A big thank you to all those who came up here to speak. Tomorrow's a public holiday as well, so it's a long weekend. We've disrupted your weekend, and it's nice to know that you're willing to spend some time here with us, expounding some virtues for a greater good. So a big thank you to all the speakers, a big thank you to all those who performed, musicians, dancers alike, and a big thank you to everyone who's turned up here, because without you there's no point having this. There's no point having a message to send up if there's no one to listen to that message. A special thank you to Mr. Shayne Neumann, our federal MP. And we hope that he will be able to take back to the haloed halls of power that he works in, that there is a silent rebellion going on among a small group of people who's looking up and wants love, peace, and oneness for all. And lastly, a big thank you to the Ramakrishna Mission for existing for the last 125 years in all parts of the world, on just about every continent. So a big thank you to everyone. So my final 2 words, we have all our speakers and performers out at the front of the room, just beyond the door, to have a photo session. And for everybody else, please make your way to the hall downstairs for a really good home-cooked meal. Thank you very much, everyone. One more.